the man who belonged beside her and entered their world without caring all that the fear, anger, pride, and the painful memory that has been stored between them. This created something usable for the short time. Daphne stopping fighting against her one heart. She stopping questioning every small movement of the Qadir, stopping measuring every emotional risk, and allow himself to feel safe with him. Qadir also found himself living inside a dream that he now could disappear at any moment. He understood that the situation was not completely real, yet that the emotion inside it was very real for him. This is exactly why that the next stage of the story is much better, more difficult than the memory loss period itself. Daphne is remembering her past, but she cannot simply state that the closeness she experienced with Kadir when she was confused, her mind will return to the normal. Yet her heart has already learned something new. She has experienced how peaceful life can feel when she stops running away from the Qadi, and that experience will affect every decision she makes from his point forward. The coming story therefore seems ready to move away from that the questions of therefore Daphne remembers Kadi and toward a much more emotional questions now that she remembers everything. Will she loses him willingly? The most interesting part of the Daphne journey is that her returning memory does not necessarily mean she will exactly the same woman she was before that the accident. Before everything changed, Daphne was continuously trying to protect her family, protected her career, protected herself from the humiliation, and protect that the people she cared about from the consequence of her choices. She has often believed that being strong means carrying every burden alone. With her love making her the vulnerable, she tried to move backward. When Kadir come closer, another problems appear and give her a reason to question that relationship. This pattern slowly suggestive out of them. The accident may have interrupted that these cycles where Daphne memory was incomplete. She believed according to the emotion she fell into the present of insists the fear she has collected from the past. The difference matters now when her memory returns. She will probably remembers every disagreement, every painful secret, every misunderstanding, and every reason she has used to push Kadir away. At the same time, she will also remember that the warmth she felt while believing they were already together. For the first time, she may be able to compare that the life she created through fear with the life she created trusted. The emotional comparison may become that the center of the next part of Muhtemel as Daphne will no longer be able to say that she does not know what being with Kadir might life. She has experienced a version of that her life. She has seen his dependence as the close friend. She has seen how he believed with her. She depends on him. She has seen how protected he can become without asking for anything in the return. When she accepts this is memory wording that the trust will becoming much harder. The official previews strongly point toward Daphne wanting to review that the marriage with the Qadir after recovering when she had forgotten, and that the idea is more important than a simple romantic scene. It represents Daphne intending that the meaning of everything that happened during her memory problem at first that the marriage situation as expressed because she misunderstood reality. Other people had to protect her from emotional shock, and Kadir was pulled into a role that neither of them had the properly chosen. If Daphne now want to repeat that the commitment while fully aware of that they trust, then the face situation can transform into a real decision. This is probably why the coming episode could feel like an emotional reset for the relationship. Daphne may decided that she does not want that the happiness movement between them to remain connected to the misunderstanding. She could want to take something that they began accidentally and make their meaning through the choice. They will also show a normal development in her character. The Daphne we met earlier wanted continually before taking risks. The new Daphne may finally understand that love never choices completely curtainly choices. Kadir will not magically solve that the problem. Around him, Selma may still have the objections, Tolga may still her feelings, Leila may have unresolved tensions, family pressure, business problem, or secret, and the personal pride can all return. The difference is that the Daphne may stop waiting for the world to become protect before allowing himself to love someone. Daphne she should decided that the Qadir is will choosing even is an imperfect situation. They will be much more powerful than the simple presented a romantic ceremony because it will show that the Daphne is no longer allowing fear to make every decision. For her, Kadir Weber may react to the Daphne new curtainly with more hesitations. He has the usually been that the one pushing for Daphne while she has been that the one created distance. She has been frustrated by her doubt, hurt by her decision, repeating forced to prove that his feelings are this serious because of his history. Seeing Daphne suddenly ready to move forward should make it extremely happy. Yet Kadir has also been through an emotionally confusing period during Daphne's memory loss. He has close to the woman he loved, knowing that the understanding of her relationship was not completely exiled. The experience could make him more careful when she finally remembered everything. He many questions whether her wish to stay with her they come from the Janus continually from that the emotional conflict of the day she spent believing they was married. He could fear that the Daphne is making all the rush decision because she is overwhelmed by the accident and its consequence. This will create understanding reversal instead of the Daphne running while Kadir follow. Kadir might ask Daphne to slow down and the think clearly. Such a reversal will not mean he love he less. In fact, it could prove that the opposite. He is caring about the Daphne. He will want her decision to be completely free, not influenced by the guilt, fear, confession, or the gratitude. He will want to know when they stand beside him. She is standing there because she is exactly who is and exactly when their history curtain. The kind of the hesitation could briefly hurt Daphne, but it would also give him that the opportunity to fight for the relationship for once. This change in the direction could give that the left story fresh energy. Daphne has spent so much time protecting herself that the viewers have rarely seen her openly proving that she wants Kadir. If she remembers everything and still chooses him, she may become that the person who takes that the emotional risk. She could become showing Kadir that her the feelings are not temporary. She is so waiting for him to appear at her door. She may go for him instead of hiding behind him. Practical problems. She may put her personal happiness first instead of allowing another misunderstanding to grow. She may speak through her the action before anyone can manipulate it that the situation. The possible wedding or the renewal of the commitment can therefore becoming that the beginning of a new definition rather than the ending of the difficulty. She may expose surprise rather by the refusing to treat even when new problem emerge. This will be currently important when Tolga become involved again because Tolga has been manipulated from the moment when Daphne and the Kadir are emotionally separated. If Daphne remain uncontained, Tolga can continue hoping that the another opportunity will appear. Tolga can continue hoping that uncertain opportunity will appear, but if the Daphne finally make a clear choice, Tolga will have to face a reality that has been avoided. He will understand that the battle is no longer about confessing Daphne to compare two men. It is about accepting that she may has only choice and that the person she truly wants. Tolga positions now seem emotionally decision because he is reaching that the point where determination he has invested too much of himself in the possibility of a future with the Daphne. Whenever Kadir and the Daphne has suffered a problem, Tolga has seen another changing. He has tried to remain important in her life and has continued believing that these substances even eventually move in his favor, but at the moment lost situation created something he could not easily control. Daphne did not choices Kadir after making a logical comparison between the two men. She heard the might places Kadir naturally in the position of husband. Almost as if through her deepest emotional connection remained attached to him, even part of her this memory disappeared. For Tolga, that would be memory difficult to escape. It suggested that her biggest competition is not simply Kadir's action. His biggest emotion is the emotional place Kadir already holds inside Tolga. Tolga can agree, plan, interfere because jealousy or try to the reveal uncomfortable trust, but none of these triangles can easily change that the Daphne feel at a deeper level. These realizations may push him one of the two directions. He could finally begin accepting the fact and rebuild himself, or he could become more aggressive because he feels that he's losing that the last opportunity to change that the outcome. Muhtemel as will probably choose it that the more dramatic route before giving Tolga any pieces. The next phase may therefore show Tolga reacted strongly when he listed that the Daphne and Kadir are not separately. After that the trust returned. He may have expected Daphne to feel embarrassed or the angry when she remembered that the Kadir was not exactly her husband during that the period of the confession. He might have the belief that she would have seen this situation as another reason to the distance herself from Kadir. Instead, if the Daphne choosing to turn that the accidental closeness into a real commitment, Tolga expectation will collapse. He could feel that the Kadir has the benefit from an unfair solution, even though Kadir himself did not create Daphne memory problem. Tolga may confess himself that the Daphne is not thinking clearly. He may try to remind her of every reason she had for staying away from Kadir. He may bring up family conflict or secret financial problems or moments when Kadir agreed created trouble, yet his strategy may fail because Daphne is no longer judging Kadir only through isolated mistakes. Kadir, yet his changes may be troubles only if she has during one of the more vulnerable periods of her life. Toga can the present fact, but Daphne emotional experience will be much harder to the challenge. The more Tolga pushes that, more Daphne may feel he is refusing to respect her decision. This could create that the first truly serious emotional break between them. This is also a strong possibility that Tolga will direct much of his anger toward Kadir rather than the Daphne. From Tolga presented Kadir is the person standing between him and that the future he imagined. The rivalry has always carried more than the romantic jealousy. Because personal pride, family history, and the competition has become mixed together, so when men begin seeing each other as a symbol of everything they has lost, even a small confrontation can become much larger than the original issue. Kadir will likely be no mood to the tolerate or interfering with the Daphne after the accident. He has watched Daphne suffer physically and emotionally, and is protected against will be stronger than before. If Tolga questioning Daphne's decision or suggested that the Kadir took advantage of her the confused memory, Kadir may react immediately. The danger is that the Daphne may become angry if the two men once again believe has through her life is something they can fight over. Her growth requires her to take control of her one story. If Kadir truly understands that the growth, he will need to resist that the temptation to make every conflict with Tolga about the competition. He will have to trust Daphne enough to let her speak through her one choices. This could become an important task for the Qadirs. Loving Daphne is not only about protecting her from the danger, it is about representing her the independence even when he strongly decides that the people around her Daphne relationship with Selma may become equally important. Selma has never been that simple background because her the feeling toward Daphne come from a complicated combination of the protections, pride, suspicions, and fear for the Qadi. She has seen how the unstable that the relationship can become, and she believes she understands that caused her son pain because with her this is no wrong. During Daphne's confused period, however, that the situation forced everyone into unexpected rules. Daphne prison inside Kadir home made emotional distance almost impossible. Salma has a woman's created problem about her the son, but as the vulnerable person depending on the family, even if the Salma resisted that the situation through leaving it, they could weaken some of her certainly. She may have the witness movement because Kadri and the Daphne that she cannot easily dismiss. She may have seen Kadri become clamor when Daphne was near. She may also have noticed that the Daphne went separated from all her defense's memory naturally trusted him. This observation could quickly after Sarma's future behavior because they will be too the simple of the story. Questioning with her, constantly fighting the relationship, actually protect Kadir or they simply make him more unhappy. This is where that the possible marriage renewal can create another strong layer of the tension. If Daphne and the Kadir decide to make the relationship real, Salma may have placed in a comfortable position. Openly opposites his could push Kadir away, but accepting that feminine dramatic that many of her earlier attempts to control that the situation faced Selma may therefore choosing a middle part. She could accept that the relationship publicly while privately watching Daphne carefully. She may test Daphne commitment and wait for the first sign that the history is repeating itself from different presentations. This will be difficult because she has one pride. She will want to leave her, so she must constantly prove that she deserves Qadir. Yet if the Daphne has this change, she may respond differently than she did before. Instead of the turning every sharp comment in a new word, he could recognize that the Selma's resistance comes from fear. This does not mean she could escape disrespected, but she can establish boundaries without destroying that the relationship. A climate damage could actually because pushes harder to Selma to opposites. Because that the old arguments will no longer work if Daphne is the patient, honest and the fair, and Selma will eventually have to judge her or what she does rather than or she fears she fight more on Layla is another character who will become important at exactly that the wrong moment and history that the Kadi create emotionally material that cannot disappear because Daphne and the Qadir are unhappy. Even when a relationship has ending, the existence of unfinished emotion can create tension in his a new relationship. Daphne may tell himself that he is confident about Qadir, but saying Layla connected to him can still touch her the insecurity. The difference in the coming stories should be how Daphne handled that insecurity earlier, jealousy, often confession because character reacted before understanding that the complete trust. If the writer want to show real growth, Daphne will need to stop knowing every uncomfortable image to become evidence of the betrayal. She will need to ask herself whether she trusts Kadir. When that the circumstances are not perfect, this becomes especially important because someone like Tolga could use Layla represent to the great doubt, a careful timing meeting, a misunderstood conversation, or an all secret evil near that the wedding could easily create another crisis. The question is whether Daphne will repeat that the same pattern and run away or with her she will finally remain between Kadris long enough to hear that the trust. My prediction is that the story will deliberately create at least one major misunderstanding, even that the teenage marry because the completely peaceful wedding will move too much dramatic tension. The trailer or the romance were used the main that the episode itself may place a problems around and the romance defines the brighter white and the Kadir openly emotional suggested that the bound character are ready to the move closer but Musmil asks as the repeating bull it the strongest movement by giving that the couple happiness and that treating it the most effective twist will not be simply stopping that the ceremony as a stronger development will be allowing Daphne and the Qadi to choices each other and were introducing information that confidently tells that the choices perhaps and except connected to the Qadi past returns. Perhaps Tolga represents stopping something at the last possible moments. Perhaps Leza become involved in an issue that Daphne was not told about. Perhaps Sensma learns something she believed Daphne has hidden with her that the exact trigger. The important point will be Daphne's response if she immediately walk away again. The story is repeating itself if she stay damaged at the trust and make a decision after understanding everything that the new conflict will demonstrate the character development rather than the simply old drama. The business side of the story can also become important again because Daphne and the Qadir romance has never existed in a complete isolated from the money, power and the family interest. Daphne's professional identity mattered deeply to her. She has worked hard to become independent and many of her earlier choices were influenced by the presence of protected her work and spotted that the persons around her the relationship with the money and the business is the difficult and this difference can easily create conflict even when they're romantically united. If enter a serious relationship with the Daphne, she may fear illogical independence or being seen as someone these problems are the so through that the man beside her, the Kadi, meanwhile may naturally want to help with her. She see her struggling when he considers sport my interest has the interference. This conflict could become most mature than the simply jealousy because the teaches their identities. Can Kadi love Daphne without trying to the carry? Every burden for her can accept Daphne help without believing that accepting has make her the weak. This is questions can shape that the series after the immediately wedding storyline settles. This accident itself may also continue influencing Daphne physiologicals even after that the memory return. Perhaps recovery is one thing, but believing that the part of your life temporarily disappear can change how you are think about time. Daphne may come away from the experience with a new understanding of how quickly everything can change. Before that, the accident, he could always tell her that love can want. She could solve one the problem first, protect one the person first, finish one the business issue first, and that the thing about happiness later after nearly losing a part of the herself that the attitude may feel impossible. She might understanding that there is no perfect future waiting for her. Life is the happening now. This could explain why she suddenly because willing to make a total commitment to the Qadi. It is not simply because she was confused and believing they were married. This is because that the accident forces her to look her at one the priorities. When she imagines Qadi as her husband as part of her field, that is exactly where she was supposed to be. When Rayleigh returns and tells her too that the marriage was not real, losing that the feeling may hurt more than she expected, wanted to increase it could because her way to choosing that the life she almost lost because he had to the courage to live it. Kadi could experience a similar transformation. He has often responded to the emotional problem through action. When someone threatens Daphne, he wants to fix it immediately. When another man gets close to her, he becomes reactive. When a secret creative dangers, he moves toward confrontation. It makes that the prisoners, but it also makes the situation more complicated. Daphne accident may force him to confront that the limit of the action. There are the things he cannot fix with anger or the determination. He cannot command every memory to the return. He cannot force her to love him in a particular way. He cannot remove every painful part of their past for a moment used to the solving problem directly. This helplessness can create important growth. Kadir can means learning patience, something Daphne has needed from him from that the beginning. If that the development continued at the next stage of the relationship, can feel much the hesitancy of responding immediately when the Tolga provoke him. Kadir might thinking about Daphne actually needing cease of making decision for her. He might ask when she fancies of treating love like a battle he must win. He might finally understood that the goal is not defecting Tolga, the goal is the building something with the Daphne that does not collapse whenever someone person create the pressure. Tolga's stronger possible storyline will come from releasing this because it is too late. So far, his pursuit for the Daphne has been connected to the competition. Kadir presents make Tolga and want to the prove himself more strongly. Every moment of uncontainedly give him another reason to the continue. But if Kadir changing and stop treating Tolga like the center of the problem, Tolga may suddenly feel the this could hurt more than the drag competition. This is a major physiological difference between losing a fight and discovering that the fight no longer matter to the people you are fighting. If the Daphne clearly opposes Kadir and the Kadir stop reacting to every provocation, Tolga will be left alone with his one feeling. She will have to decide what kind of the person he want to become after rejection. This could eventually lead to meaningful growth for him, but this series will probably take him through a dark and emotional phase first. He may be one final mistake, believing that the dramatic action can force Daphne to recognize. This mistake could permanently damage his relationship with the fair. One possibility is that the Tolga will uncover information connected to the Qadir of his family and the confess himself that the living this is an act of the protection. It will allow him to interfere while she believing that he has done that the right insists of the opening saying that he want Daphne. For himself, he calls herself now that the trust this information marginally she be important. He will make that the situation morally complicated. Daphne could become angry more because Tolga revealed that the trust but become of the timing and intention behind it. If that the deliberative wait until a romantic moment of the reveal something painful, she will understand that his goal is not simply honesty. He wants to create distance between her and the Qadi. Their destructions could finally change that the way she needed him. Daphne has often tried to fair off to the everyone, but they may become a point where being after being establishing a clear boundary. She may tell Tolga because it's impossible. While he continues treating her decision as a temporary mistake, it can reverse this emotional conflict for the Tolga could then connect it more strongly with this Leila about character. No doubt is the feel like to stand outside that relationship that once hoped to belong to him. That does not mean they necessary because a romantic couple when they become cool and practices or the mirror for each other, Stella will understand that the relations and angry Tolga will better than the everyone else. She may has also recognized that the danger decision is moving toward because she has experienced her one differently letting go. If Leila being moving through that emotionally while Tolga continue fighting that the past, she could be that the person who tell him through her the action that the losing someone does not mean losing yourself. On the other hand, if Leila is the trying resentment, Tolga could find someone to the cooperate with him against Daphnis and the Qadi. This will create a temporary cease based on no love but on the sheer frustration such as the alliance could be very dangerous because each person could encourage that the worst in cease. However, I do not think that the story will turn Layla into a simple villain. Muhtemel asks were better when the character has the understable motive rather than the behaving badly for no reason. Layla has her one emotionally history and reducing her to the woman who only want to destroy another relationship who make that the story weaker. A more interesting plan will be giving her the moment where she has to the power of the create trouble but choices not to. The imagines Tolga approaching her with information that could damage Kadir and the Delphin expecting her to help without she once has one connection with the Kadir sees of the cooperating. Sela could decide that she is tired of living inside another person's love story. The decision will surprise Tolga and show that the person can grow after disappointment. Could also create an important contrast while Daphne learn to the choices of without fear. Sela could learn to the work away from love with the battleness. But development can show different kind of the emotional maturity. The family around Daphne should also react strongly if she announces that she wants to make a relationship with the Qadir real. They have watching more through the professional pressure, romantic confession, financial problems, conflict, and a new serious accident. Some family member may feel remember she is the finally choosing happiness that the finally while other may worry that she is moving that the quickly after recovering her the memory. They concern that her the reconcilable Durga may have become past and emotional influences experience and marriage is not a small decision. This creates a good opportunity for the series to show Daphne becoming more independent in the healthier way. Earlier independence meant doing another one. Now it could move listening to the advice without surrounding control over decision. This can understand why the family worries and still choices Kadi. This is a more mature form of this strength. A person does not improve immediately by refusing to hear someone else. Their independence comes from the hearing difficult opinion and then taking responsibility for your own choices. Daphne may therefore surprising everyone without claiming she handled opposition. The old Daphne might have become defensive, believing that every question was an attack. The new Daphne understood that the people are scared because they love her. She can explain through her the choices that the decision did not make her the reckless. It make her clear about what battle she is and acknowledge that the Qadir is imperfect. She may accept that the relationship has the messy. She only admit that they has hurt each other, but she also can recognize that the protection is not the standing for the love. The real question is whether two the imperfect people are willing to learn how to stop repeating that the same mistake. Another important part of the incoming story could be Daphne professionally returned. The accident temporarily made romance and health at the center of her life, but still is this something who built her identity through work. She once become physically stronger, she will likely want to return to her responsibilities quietly. Kadir may worry that she is pushing herself too hard. Kadir not worried that she is pushing herself too hard. This could create a tension between meaningful conflict between them. He may want her to rest when she wants to prove that she is fine. His danger is that the Kadir care could become feeling like control. Daphne may become irritated if someone treats her like a fragile person simply because she has an accident. Kadir will need to find that the balanced person between protected her and respected her. If she manages this well, it will show how Kadir much has been trained of telling her what she can or cannot do. He may quickly surprise support him while reminding ready if she need help. The type of the presentation will become viewer to see. Why their relationship can survive beyond romantic attention, their future also depend on the whether they can become honest about the money. Financial secret has already cases serious damage around the Daphne. Her instincts to protect someone information lead her to hide information and hidden information about always return at the worst possible time. If she is serious about building a life with the Kadi, she cannot continue making major decisions alone and explaining them only after they become clashes. Likewise, Kadi cannot use the resources as a solution to every problem. The next step may force them to discuss someone they previously avoided when partnership actually mean. It is easy to say that to the people love each other. It is harder to share responsibility, discuss deep, accept weakness, set boundaries with family, and make long-term plans. Muhtemel could become stronger if we use it at the romance to explore. This is practical questions. I need marriage should not easily be sure looking beautiful clothes and the emotional look. It should change how that the character behave when ordinary problem return. I expect one of the definite bigger decision will involve refusing a solution that make her completely dependent on either Kadi or Tolga. Both men have in different way been connected to the opportunity, money, powers, and or solution around her. Daffy may decided that if is going to the build a future with the Kadi, she want to decide stand beside him rather than behind him. She might distract her the professional life, find a new project, reboot something immediately, or make a difficult financial choices that they protect her the freedom. Kadir could intentionally misunderstood and she is the rejected her the spot. Eventually he may elicit that the respected Daphne me allowing her to preserve that the identity she found to the bill. This could become one of the happiness movement in their relationship when Kadir's love could become being trusted, refusing her says he could become that the person releases she can refusing herself while reminding beside her when she has the possible wedding sequence itself may contain similar layer behind similar happiness. Daphne wearing white which symbolizes a fresh start. But everyone standing around her, she brings that the past into that the moment. Selma will remember her the objective. Toga will remember that he wanted. Sela will remember when she lost. Kadi will remember every time Daphne pushes it away. Daphne will remember that the day when she believed she should not allow himself to choices him. That mean of the happiness ceremony could feel emotional precisely because it does not realize that the past, the strongest version of these scenes will show that they everyone understand how unlikely this movement once seemed. Daphne and the Kadir are not two the people who reaches happiness easily. The relationship was the buried through the resistance mistake. Fair families, conflict, jealousy, financial pressures, and the unexpected event choosing one each other after about that the event. The moment where if tell viewer that the purpose of this different was not merely to decide, delay that the romance but to change that the people inside it. Therefore, I predict that the ceremony will not save that the triangle completely. Tolga feeling cannot disappear in a single night. Even if her witness definitely closely choosing Kadir, his action afterward may become more dangerous because he will no longer be enough able to be protect, but he still has the time. He could withdraw for a short time, making everyone believe he has accepted reality. That scenes could exactly create more the tension. Loud Tolga is easy to understand. A quiet Tolga could be planning something. He may turn his attention toward business instead of the romance, attracting Kadi indirectly. If he cannot win Daphne heart, he may not try to prove that the Kadi cannot give her the stability. Business worry could be caused that the new form of the romantic conflict. Tolga might interfere with the project, use information against Kadir or the could pressure sound definite career. He may tell himself that he is simply completely professionally, but because emotional revenge could be underneath every move, this shift will be useful because it will stop that the triangle from becoming repetitive. You do not need endless scene of the Tolga trying to the confess diving to the love him. Once had the choices become clear, the conflict should involve Tolga become a serious professional so the family world could give him a purpose beyond romantic rejection. It could also force Kadri and the Daphne to work as a team. Instead of the arguings about the whether they trust each other, this will have to solve an external problem together. This is often where relationship is becoming more interesting. The audience get to see whether that the couple can actually foundations while standing on the same side. Deaf intelligence and the professional experience could combine with the determination and the resources. Their different personality, but once the created conflict could become complementary strengths. Kadir might act quickly while the Daphne think carefully. Daphne may see legal or the professional risks that the Kadir misses. Kadir may recognize emotional or the practical dangers before Daphne does. Working together can show that the relationship is not only passionable but it can also be affected. Of course, cooperative will not come easy. They are about strong personality. The both are used to making their one decision. Their first attempt to handle a problem together could end in the serious disagreement. Kadi moved without consulting Daphne because he thinks time is the important. Daffy may respond that creating her won the plan because she does not want to be controlled for a moment. It might look at her that your partners is the returning. The difference should be what happened after one is so separated for their following another person to manipulate that the silence. They could return to the same room and solve that the problem. These sound simple, but for the Daphne and Kadir, it will represent development. The biggest enemy has often named not the problem itself by the way they respond when hurt. If they learn to remain connected during conflict, outside enemy will have much less over them during returning. Memories could also contain one detail. Memory recovery after that the accident gives that the writer an easy way to the introduce information gradually. She may remember something about that the moment before that the clash, remembering about Tolga, Kadir, Leila or another person that changing her understanding of the event. The series could use this is to create that the small mistakes were definitely intentionally assumed that the accident was simply an accident, but a recover memory maker the wonder with another person action contributed to it. It does not have to solve a criminal storyline after learning that the argument or the emotional confrontation. Distracted at the before that the clash could create consequence if the Tolga was involved in the one letting her to it. His the guilt can explain why his emotional are the becoming unstable. If Kadir was the connected indirectly, he might carry guilt that he has hidden from the Daphne because he fear hurting her. Either direction could create a strong test when she remembered the important thing that the Daphne should not become passive while other character decided when she deserved to now. Her decisions only places her in the situations where everyone was managing information around her from the medical reason. When she is well continue to hide things will become a serious mistake. Daphne is likely to react strongly if she discovered that the people are the setting protected her through the analysis. Kadir eventually may understand this. During his the memory problems, information may have has necessary because doctor wanted to avoid another shock after recovery that the rule change if Kadir keep even one important secret because he is afraid of losing her. He will risk repeating that the exact pattern that damaging their relationship before. This is why honesty may become the real test of their new beginning. I can imagine a scene where Daphne is the daddy, everyone is becoming strange around a particular subject. He become observing smile, the reaction is of immediately comforting them. This will show that the return of the sharp intelligence or inside her, the softer Daphne created by the accident does not need to replace. This strong defiance from before the best development will remind both sides she can emotionally open when still being intelligent and independent. She may quietly investigate while everyone is hiding, eventually discovering that the trust herself when she confronts the viewer may exploit another breakup. Instead, she could have surprising choices. She might be angry, but she could make separate that the mistake from that the entire relationship. She could tell him because through that reaction hiding that the trust was wrong without declaring that one mistake cancel or the love between them. The kind of the reaction will prove that the Daphne has truly changed. Kadir will then have to learn that being forgiven does not mean escaping consequence. If he is hiding something, he may need to rebuild trust through the actions. Daphne temporarily asks for the space without ending that the relationship for that they continue with the marriage but insists on the new boundaries. Perhaps she tell him if they are going to the create a future where can no longer lies made her in the name of protected her. Kadi may struggle with the because his history is deeply connected to the protection yet changing the agencies will be necessary if we want a true partnership. This could become one of the strongest themes of the next art. Love does not need deciding what is the better for another person. Someone love me trusting him with the painful trust meanwhile someone may unexpectedly because that the persons who the help him Daphne and the Kadir together. This will be a satisfying reversal after so much tension. Selma does not need to become completely affectionable towards Daphne. She simply needs to reach a point where she understands that the Kadir happiness is connected to her. If another character tries to destroy the relationship unfairly, Selma may defend Daphne not because all their problems are solved But because she refuses to let outsider control her, the family imagine Tolga or someone bringing damaging information and expected Salma to use it against Daphne. Instead, Salma could question that the motive behind that revelation. They would signal that the Daphne is the soul becoming part of the family. Even before Salma is ready to say so openly, Daphne might also earn Salma respect through a decision involving Qadir. If Qadir faces a professional or the personal crisis, Daphne could choose to stay beside him even when the living will be easier. Salma has the likely fear that Daphne will always disappear when the questions become difficult. The most confessing way to change her the opinions is not through this species but the through contrast. Daphne can prove that the new relationship is the difficult by remaining present when Kadir is the vulnerable one. Until now, Kadir has been that the person trying to protect Daphne was seeing this is rule deeper on that the romance. Kadir may experience future financial problems, family disappointment, or the public embarrassment, and the death may be that the person refuses to let him face it alone. The moment could finally remove Selma's stronger obsession. Tolga could become responsible for creating exactly that the situation. His attempt to awaken Kadir may make Daphne committed to him. This will be an ironic but the logical development. Every time Tolga creative pressure helping Daphne will run away. Daphne may instead demonstrated how much she was changing by the state. Tolga could show reason that his reaction has written that the relationship he want to destroy. This realization may push him toward that the emotional breaking point at that the stage he may finally understand the love cannot be won through this strategy. Daphne is not the prize that goes to the man who removed at the competition. She has one choices and every attempt to ignore that choices only move her the future away. Eventually Tolga will need a scene where he faces Daphne without Kadir present. This confrontation should not be about shouting or the romantic pleading. It should be quite just Daphne may explain that she cares about Tolga as a person but cannot give him the future he imagines. More importantly, she may have cleared that her choices of the Kadir is not an attack on the Tolga. He has been interesting that the situation was winning and the losing, but love does not work through that the logic. Kadir did not defect him different choices but failed true to her. Tolga's first part will depend on whether he can understand this. If he does, he can begin rebuilding himself. If refuses, he is becoming someone Daphne no longer recognize. The title Muhtemel meaning a possible love becoming especially meaningful at the stage because that the interior story has asked difficult love is something people can control. Daphne become a woman who try to organize life through the reason she approaching problem professionally and the belief carefully decision will protect her from the cases. Daphne enter her the world as someone she could not easily calculate. Tolga represented another possible directions where a life can look easier to understand from the outside, but the story keeps showing that the emotional trust does not always follow that the safest plan. The accident pushes this team even future when the definite consequence memory disappear temporarily. Her emotional connections to the Qadi remain powerful enough to shape how she sees whenever medical assistance in every detail is less important than what is means symbolic inside that the drama is suggested that the need all the argument and the fear Daphne has the already created a place of the Qadi inside her idea of home. This is why the marriage renewal has the potential to be more than the fan survive. It can complete at the moment for the possible love to casing love. At the moment, Kadir was merely one the possibility among many uncertainly. Daffy did not know with her knowing him is her life could create or the disaster. Now she is now much more. She has seen difficult sides. She has fought with him. She has been disappointed. She has also protected, loved, challenged, or understood by him, choosing him after seeing that the whole person is more meaningful than failing for an ideal image. Kadir will also be choices a real definite note that this a version of her who trusted her carefully completely while her the memory was the confused in out when the Daphne fully returned to the himself while she questions him, challenging him, protected her independence and someone frustrated him if she still wanted the life but he has become more mature. For these reasons, I do not expect that the coming story to end that the tension between them. I expect to change that the kind of the tension we see the earlier tension as whether they could become a couple. The new stand tensions can ease whether they know how to remain a couple. This is our very romantic questions. Romantic drama often become repetitions when writer keeps separating that the center could simply because that the story need conflict Muhtemel has an opportunity to avoid that the problems Daphne and the Kadir can stay together while facing stronger external on the internal challenges. This can disagree without ending that the relationship they can experience jealousy without betrayal. This can make mistake without immediately declaring everything finished. If that the series move in that the distance, the romance will become more satisfying, becoming viewer can watch love development rather than the contestant who will start. The next episode may begin with the definite feeling clearly that she has felt in a long time. Morva returns in the pieces, and every piece is changing that the meaning of that the day she spent beside Kadir. At first, she may be embarrassment. She could remember that when treating him as her husband, suddenly become aware of her certain that the situation was Kadir may expect her to the pull away everyone around him. They may prepare for another emotional disaster, but she is so confusing on the breastman that we may begin remembering how safe she felt. She might recognize that the face might give her a glimpse of the something she secretly wanted. This realization could lead directly to attention to make a board real. Kadir may be studied beside this is an opposite of what he expects. He has spent so long chasing clarity from Daphne that receiving it suddenly may almost frighten him. He may ask something himself with happiness is easy has so trusted everything they have survived. Daphne however could become surprising curtain. This gives that the coming romantic scene that their real power. She is not simply turning Kadir love, she is correctly that her partners. Every is a version of the Daphne searching for the reason not to take that the final step. This version may serve for the reason not to waste more time. This ceremony preparation could then bring comedy and the lighter family moment back into the series. After the accidents and the emotional tension, these stories need somewhat difficult family member may disagreement about close tradition, guests and the details. Kadi may become impatient with all the planning we secretly enjoying Daphne excitement. Daphne use it to control in the professional setting may become unexpectedly emotional about some detail because she understands when that the moment represents this scene could allowing that this particular to the contributive without creating common sense crisis. Romantic comedy work best when happiness has the room to exist before that the next dramatic way. Tolga sensitive will keep that the happiness from feeling community secure. He may learn about that this year may because he is emotionally prepared. His first reactions could be disbelief because he expected definitely recovery memory to the disappear her from the car. The one that they discovered that the opposite has happened. Frustrated cooled him into anger. The second trailer already suggested strong tensions about Tolga, so this reaction is unlikely to be climbed. The most likely prediction is that he will win the final attempt to stop Daphne from moving forward, either by confronting her directly or by bringing information that he believes will change her the decision, but I predict that his attempt will fall in the way that the matter most. Tolga may successfully create a problem. He may even delay a happiness moment or case an argument. When he will fail to do is return definitely to be uncertainly she has before. This is a real difference. Perhaps can hurt that the couple, but uncertainly about love may no longer control them. Daphne may become angry with the Kadir and still love him. Kadir will become disappointment when the Daphne and they still committed. The emotional stability will make Tolga also tragedy effective toward at the end of the incoming story. I expect one new secret or threat appears after that the romantic high point. The writer needs something that carries that the story into the following episode. The stronger possibility is the development leaked to the families or the business rather than the another immediately romantic separation or document financial problems or connections or unexpected person could enter that the story and place it Daphne and the Kadir on the same side. Tolga may also become involved throughout the case of the problem as has someone who know more than he eventually reveal. If he happen the finally made could show Daphne and the Kadir listen that the casing each other was only the beginning. Their life are still complicated and the people around him still carry unfinished story yet that the emotional meaning will be very difficult from the earlier cliffhanger before dangers can read always return to the separated them. Now dangers may become have to stand together. This is how I believe Muhtemel is the heading after that the latest development. Definite memory loss was not really has a temporary twist design as a creative funny confessions. It gives that the story a way to the recover, remove her defensive and show what its relationship with the Kadir might look like without fear controlling every movement. Her the memories returning not loud at the writer to us with her. She will consciously choosing that the same happiness that she accepted unconstantly. Everyone in the current decision suggested that she will try. Kadi will receive the love he has wanted, but he also will receive a greater responsibility. He must prove that he can define partner rather than only her the protector. Daphne must prove that the kissing love does not mean losing herself. Selma must decide with her protected herself mean controlling her or respected his happiness. Tolga must decide with his the feeling to the Daphne are strong enough to survive rejection without turning into destruction. Leela decided with her that the past are currently defining her the futures and that the family sounded he must learn to accept a relationship that has survived almost very kind of the misunderstanding. The next test can therefore make us richer than the simpler question of how Daphne will the choices. The question is the solely receiving it answered. The more important question is what everyone, because after that the cases is the made. Kadi may become climbers, Daphne may become braver, Selma may become more respected, Stella may become more independent, Tolga may grow or fail deeper into jealousy. Every character now stand at the crossroad. For Daphne, the biggest change is that May finally stops seeing love as a danger to the life she built. She once believed she had to choose between control and the emotions. Kadi show her that the emotion cannot always be controlled. Why that the accident showing her that the control itself can disappear in a second. After experience about trust, he may decide that the protecting herself from every possible pain is not the same as the living. A person can avoid heartbreak and this still becomes lonely. Daphne has spent much of her life proving that she can stand alone. The coming story may allow her to discover that the choosing to stand beside someone is not weakness. For Kadir, love may stop being something else to the kid. This could change her more than ever rejected it when the people stand a long term fighting for this something that someone do not know when to do when they finally have it. Kadir will have to learn that the keeping definitely require different qualities. From winning her the attention, passive proud that the together, but the patient nasty respect and trust will be determined with her they survive. The new marriage can establish exactly that the transition. The first version succeeds through the confession, the second will exist through the knowledge that will now Kadir flaw. Kadir will now Daphne's fears. These families will now that the history. Tolga will now wear Daphne's stone. Nobody will be able to the protect anymore. If they are still more forward under this condition, the relationship becomes stronger because it no longer based on the possibility alone. My strongest predictions is therefore that the version will receive an important romantic payoff at the next episode, but that the happiness will immediately open that the door to a more mature conflict. Delphine and the Kadir are likely to move closer rather than the separated, while Toga frustrated that the next external danger, the vending atmosphere will give that the episode emotional warmth. But underneath that, the warm and resolved family and the business issue will remain active. One of these problem will probably rise near at the end and become that the next major storyline. The more satisfying outcome will be seeing Daphne face that the new problem without running from the Qadi. If the episode and will Trevor arriving and the Daphne Casey to remain beside him. Even after learning something difficult, it will confirm that the accident truly changing her. It will throw at the audience that the only cycle has you finally being changed. Muhtemel as begins with uncontained attraction, chivalry, and the people trying to understand with her love could fit into the life they has carefully planned. Now is the story is the moving toward a state where love itself may no longer be uncontained. When the mind uncontained is with her that the character are emotionally ready for something that come after kissing it. This is why make that the coming part existed. Daphne does not need another man to know her she loves. She already now Kadi does not need another confrontation. To prove how this suddenly he feel, he action during Daphne most vulnerable period has already showing it. Tolga does not need another opportunity to the complete when he need is the courage to accept an answer he never wanted. Selma does not need another argument with the Daphne. She need to decide with her continue that the fight is worth losing emotional closeness with her son. Every character is being pushed toward a trust they have they avoided, and that they may become that the central message of the next phase of the Muhtemel. The hardest part of the love is not discovering that the feeling, it is accepting what their feeling require for her. Daphne accident temporarily removed that the complicated history between her and the Qadi. Her recovery memory bring that the history back, but she returned to it in a difficult person. She is feel like to wake her up, leaving Qadi beside her. She now that the comfort of trusted her without examining every risk. She now heavily quickly ordinary life can disappear. This is experience cannot be forgotten just because her the older memory returns. So when the difference stand between Kadir again with a clear mind, the emotional importance will not come from either she remembered their past. It will come from the fact that she remembered all of this is and they still move toward him. This is why that the coming romantic moment may become that the strongest moment of the relationship so far. Previously, love often happened to the Daphne despite her time to the sister. Now she may actively choices that the Tolga is still there, knowing that the Selma may not fully trust her. Knowing that the professional troubles can return, knowing that the families can interfere, and knowing that the Qadir himself is far from perfect. Choosing love when everything is easy is simple. Choosing it after seeing that the difficult part is that the transform attraction into commitment. The next story will probably tell that the commitment almost immediately. This is exactly that this should happen. Daphne and the Qadi do not need a perfect future, they need to change to prove that the relationship can survive an imperfect one at this time when the next secret arrives while Tolga loses control when family pressure returns or when another professional crisis threatens their pieces. Daphne may not be the woman who walk away first, she may be that the woman who stay. If that the happens, then the real turning point of Muhtemel will not be wedding dress, the ceremony and the recovery memory or even the kiss. The true turning point will the Daphne finally understand that love does not take her the strength. It gives her something warm music that the Saturn for Mothmilas. The choice is that the changing everything in the next part of Mothmilas. The most important change will not simply be Daphne remembering her the past. The real change will be the way she look at the past about after something she has recently experienced. Before that, the accident, almost every important decision in her life was suddenly by the fear, responsibility, family pressure, professional problem, and the constant feeling that the happiness could create another disaster. She really have to decide to think only about what she wanted, even when their feeling for the Qadi because obvious. She continued looking for the practical reason to keep a distance from him. The accident interrupted the pattern for a short period. Definitely separated from the emotional weight she has been carrying. She still remembered that the same person inside, but many of the painful memories that the normally controlling her the choices were temporarily vulnerable to her. During the usable period, she tempted Kadi more mutually than she has even before felt. She felt comfortable around him, trusted her the presence and experienced a version of the life in which loving her did not feel like another problem that needed to be solved. Now that her memory are returning, the situation becomes far more complicated. She remembers when she once hesitated but because also remember how painful she felt when this is reason why temporarily removed. This creates a powerful conflict inside her because she is no longer predict that the Qadir is simply another sources of the cases. She has seen another side of their possible future and that the experience may become stronger. Then all these excuses she used to in the past. Daphne will probably spend when some time trying to understand with her this feeling she experienced during her the memory loss was genuinely or only that the result of the confession. At first their question may disturb him. She may feel embarrassed when she remembers certain moment with the Qadir because she now understands that she believes the relationship was difficulty from the reality. She told becomes avoid eye contact and try to turn quickly to her when the runate. Qadir may intentionally misunderstood from the reaction believing that they definitely regret everything. He has already experienced enough disappointment to respect that the with her she become distant instead of immediately asking her what she feels. He may give her space because he does not want to pressure after a serious expectations. This creates a temporary silence between them, but this silence will not feel like the old kind. In the past, decision often meant that the dolphin was preparing to leave that the relationship. The time distance may simply mean she is processing someone too important to the answer quickly. Her the mind is comparing to version of herself or the vision contrastly fear that the consequence of the casing Kadir. The other version trusted other almost without investigation. Daphne may slowly understand that the second version was not false. It was simply a version of herself without that the same emotional barriers. Their relationship could become that the reason she finally make a clear decision. Kazim immediately will not immediately believe that anything has the change. He now feels deeply enough to understand that she often reacts strongly when she is post emotionally exposed. He may expect her to rebuild every wall that disappeared during her the memory control problem. Because of this, he might prepare himself for other painful goodbye even before Daphne say anything. This will make her the eventual decision much more painful, but it come to the him willingly and make it clear that she want to continue what began during this is strange. Kadi will not know how to react at first. He has spent so much time confessing Daphne that his feelings are real, that may be completely unprepared when she become that the person asking him to trust the relationship. His first response could be casual rather than the immediately joyful. He may ask with her she is content. He may worry she is still emotionally affected by the additions. He may suggest waiting before making a serious decision. For Daphne, this will be unexpected. He may has imagined accepted that the Kadi will immediately accept with her future. She often him insists. He may discover that he now wants something deeper than the simple getting that she has wanted for so long. He wants Daphne to choices him the consciously. This reversal could create one of the most refreshing state of the relationship. For the first time, Daphne may become that the person proving that the strength of her feelings. She may refusing to her become confessions or the uncontainedly rather than allowing Cardi to kisses her again. She could believing through her the behavior that she remembered everything and still want him. This could did not want to become a long romantic speech. The strongest proof will come from the practical decisions she may incite Kadir implant from which the previous included him. She may openly stand beside him in front of her family. She may refuse to hide the relationship when another person questions him. She could visit his family not because corruption forces her to, but because she wants to become part of his life. Small action like this will show that the Daphne is no longer treated that the relationship has is something temporary. For the Qadi, this is movement may be more powerful than any dramatic declaration because he understands how difficult it for the Daphne to surround it control. Every time she is volunteering inside him, in her the future, she is proving that is something fundamental has changed. The idea of renewing their marriage or making their bonds real becoming especially important because it allowed Daphne to the transform as an accidental situation into an international commitment during her the memory problem. She accepted that the idea the Qadir was her the husband because that was she believed. Now she had to the opportunity to ask herself a much harder question: if that the life felt right, why should he return to the life? Why she suddenly run from it? The possibility ceremony therefore becomes symbolic. It is not simple outmass or the meaningful image. It is definitely remaining control of the something that the begins without her full understanding. She may decide what she does not want, that the memory of the being Kadi wife to remain connected to the confession. She wants to choose it that the same rule with complete awareness. They transformed that the meaning of everything that the happens one originally looked like an usable accident of the craftsman can become that the emotional proof that Daphne has already moved closer to the Kadi that she was willing to the admit. However, that the road toward that the commitment will not be easy because everyone around him has their own interpretations. That once she happens, some people may believe Daphne is moving through the quickly after that the accident. Others may think she is making an emotional decision because she is afraid of the losing Kadir. Salma may questions with her Daphne continually with the last. Tolga may almost continually refuse to the belief that her the choices is the final. Leila may observe that the situation from a distance and try to understand when the Kadir new future mean from the emotional closures. Every reaction will place pressure on the Daphne. But this presence could become that the perfect opportunity to show her the growth. The old Daphne might have become overwhelmed by everyone's opinion and delay her the decision. The new Daphne may listen to them without surrounded her right to the cases choices. She can understand that the people are the worried and still decided that they do not know her the trust better than the she does. Tolga will the probably experience the greatest emotional shock. He may have the belief that the definitely covering memories will bring that the old problems back between her and the Kadi. From this repetition, the family lost period was temporary and therefore that the closeness creating during it should also disappear. He may expect Daphne to feel bonded so uncomfortable when she realizes how deeply she depends on the Kadrin. Since he could discover that she experience brought them closer than even. This will discover one of Tolga's final hope. Until now, he could experience always or himself that the corruption has prevented Daphne from seeing him clearly. He could blame family timing and the influence misunderstood or the emotional conflict if Daphne fully remembers everything and still chooses Kadi. Tolga lost almost every excuse. He will have to face that the simple trust that Daphne started may not belong to him, that the trust will push Tolga into a much darker emotional place. Rejection is the difficult, but reaction become even harder when the someone has the built their identity around that. The belief has eventually that will be choices. Tolga has the continued remaining emotionally connected to the Daphne because he believed this was still a possible future. He treated every possible between Daphne and the Kadir like evidence that their relationship could collapse if the truth of the new becoming stronger because of that. The accident Olga may feels like that the through the situation has turning against him. He could become confessing that the Kadi benefit from the deaf vulnerability even if the association is the unfair. If they may become that the story Tolga tell himself because accepting reality will hurt more by viewing Kadir as the person who stole his the training. Tolga may protect his pride. He does not need to the admit that the defense simply classes another menaces. He can confess himself that the something unfair happened. The mislead could lead Tolga toward when the final attempt to interferences of the opening asking Daphne to the leave Qadi he may decided to attack that the trust between him. He could search for information from the Qadi past, revisit other family infections, investigation of business matter. The purpose will be the create doubt organ now that the Daphne biggest weakness has the weakness been uncertainty. If he can make her the question with her Kadir has been honest, perhaps he believes he can turn their relationship to this interior unstable state. The problem is that the Tolga may fail to recognize that the Daphne herself has the trained the same certainty that one work may no longer have the same effect. If we reveal a secret, Daphne may become angry, but anger will be not automatically lead to the separation. She might confront Kadir directly, ask for an explanation, and make a decision after hearing both sides. That will completely destroy Tolga's plan because his real goal will not simply be revealing that the trust. His goal will be creating distance. The more Tolga releases, he cannot control Daphne's decision, the more their frustrations can move forward. Kadir, their worry has always contained pride. Both men dislike that the idea of the losing and both have the idea of the trusted each other as December rather than the simple individual. Tolga may look at the Kadir and see something he believes should also belong to him. Kadir may look at the Tolga and see that the person who repeatedly tried to interfere with the woman he loved. This makes that confrontation almost unavoidable. However, that the important development should be Kadir's response. Earlier, Kadir might have immediately reacted with the anger and they allowed Tolga to pull him into another fight. Now he can move to the loss if Daphne is finally crossing him openly. He may understand that proving himself uncertainly is unnecessary. He already has the answer that the matter definite decision is stronger than the anything. He could say to the Tolga Kadi refusal to complete could exactly hurt Tolga more deeply than the anger. Kadi stopped treated him like a serious romantic rival. Tolga may feel through his interior strength has become meaningless. He might provoke Kadi more aggressively hoping to make him control laws. Kadir could be tamed, especially if the Tolga was something disrespectful about Daphne. Yet Daphne may be nearby watching now he handles this situation. If Kadir away insists of the fighting, he will demonstrate in a murderous glory. He will be showing that his relationship with Kadir is that his relationship that the need to be needy through the aggression. He trusted her the choices. This will also increase Daphne's confidence because he may see that the Kadir is learning to respect her independence rather than the constantly treated her as someone who needs protection. Selma's reactions will be more complicated. She has spent the last time believing that the Daphne brings instability into Kadir's life from her the perspective. She is not necessarily trying to destroy his happiness. She may genuinely believe she is protecting him from repeating disappointment every time Daphne moves away from the Kadir. Salma received more the evidence supporting her the fear yet that the reason even forcing her to see that the relationship from a difficult angle during Daphne's vulnerable period. Salma has the opportunity to observe how naturally Kadi cared for her. She may have also noticed how difficult Kadi became when Daphne trusted him. Even if the Salma does not only admit it, she cannot completely ignore that the emotional connections between them anyone. This will make her reaction to the teenage marriage much less simple than before. At first, Salma may question Daphne privately. She could ask she is content with her. She remember all the problem And with her, she understands how Muhtemel asks when love tested is real love test. The next state of the Muhtemel ask can become much more emotional because Daphne and the Qadir reaches a point where simple admitting her their feeling will no longer be enough. Until now, most of their story has been built uncertainly. They were attracted to each other. But outside problems repeatedly entered their life. Their family had the opinion or relationship continued to the create tension, professional responsibility, damaging attention, and Daphne herself was afraid of making a decision that could change everything at the accident and the temporary loss of her memory. However, Daphne has been forced to experience her relationship difficult angle for the short time. She did not carry that the same doubt that the normally stopping her from the moving forward. She is accepting Qadir as someone close to her, trusted is the presence and allowing herself to the experience a life in which he has not an emotional risk but part of the everyday world. Now that the trust is the returning, Daphne cannot simply because that the old Daphne and the forget everything she felt. He now more about the herself that she did before this meaning that the new challenge will not be discovering with her. She loves Qadir. The challenge will not leaving Qadir. She and the Qadir create a relationship strong enough to survive reality. That feels stronger transformations may begin when she recognizes how tired she has become of the continually meaningful herself. She has always been intelligent, careful and independent. This is Costa's qualities help her survive. Many become difficult solutions, but they also become emotional while she wanted to know that the result of every decision before taking that the first steps. Love can does not work like this. Nobody can be promised that a relationship will never cause pain. Nobody can guarantee that the family will agree that misunderstanding will never happen or what to the strong people will never make mistake. Definitely spends so many energy trying to avoid uncontainedly that something creative more containedly herself. The accident may finally make her understand this. Life changed in a single moment and all of the plans she believed she controlling suddenly because unimportant. When she looked back, she may realize it that she the moment are remembering more strongly and not the professional victory or thought that the arguments she thought were so important. This is at the moment when Kadir storm is wider, when she feel understood, when the behavioral stopping worried about the tomorrow. These realizations can make Daphne much the braver. Kadi may notice this the training before anyone else. He now had Daphne usually responds how she feel pressure. She become practical training that the subject focus on the work and created emotional distance. She may begin acting differently. Kadi will understand that the accident affected her more deeply than she is admitting. Perhaps she friend including him in a small distance without thinking about it. She may call him first when thinking something. She may ask for his opinion on a family problem. She could arrive at this home without needing a special reason. These actions can seem ordinary, but for the Qadirs, they will be important. He has always wanted to feel like the deafening causes him not only in emotional moment when in normal life. Seeing as he naturally makes space for him could confess him that the relationship is finally becoming real. Yet the Qadir happiness may also create fear. She has the experience enough emotionally versed to know that the dolphin can change decisions, directions when a new problem appears. Part of him may want to enjoy this new closeness, but another part may be waiting for the new crisis. The fear should case him to become overheard careful. He might avoid saying curtain. This is because he not want to the upset dolphin. He could hide a small problem because he worried it will damage the happiness that they found just. This would be a dangerous mistake because that the new relationship can only become stronger through the honesty. If the Qadi is staying protected that the relationship by handing reality, he will accidentally create that the new problem he is trying to the prevent. A likely turning point could come through the business or the family issue that the Qadir learned about before definite might involve money or legal concern, a previous promise or information connected to someone close to him. Qadir may believe that the timing is the terrible. Daphne is still recovering emotionally and he does not want to give another reason to the worry. He might decide to solve the issue quietly and tell her the later. From his perspective, this is love. He is trying to protect her the pieces, but from the Daphne perspective, discovering that the trust from another person will leak like the betrayal of the new trust they are buried to the bill. The actual problem may be manageable, while that the fact the Qadi healed is becoming much more serious. This could be where Tolga finds another opening. Tolga may no longer be able to the challenge Daphne feeling directly, but he now that the trust has always been that the weak point between her and the Qadi. If the Tolga discovered keeping wise as he keeps silence, he could exactly that the wrong moment. He may not even movements need to the lie something that the most effective way to through create conflict is the reveal a true fact while hitting that the contest around it. Tolga might approaching definitely information and present it in a new way that make the Qadir appear dishonest because the information itself is the real. Daphne cannot simply ignore it. She will need to the comfort Kadi. The situation will show with her Daphne has the generously changing the old patterns will be easy. The becoming angry assume that the world sleep about hearing that the complete explanation and the Kadi become furious because she does not trust him. The Tolga gain other opportunity. The new Daphne may still become angry. But she can cases a difficult response. He may confront Kadir directly and admit that the full story. He could tell him that the hiding information was the why he was still allowing him to explain why he did it. This did not mean she must exactly forgive him. He simply means she stopped turning every conflict into an ending. This would be one of the biggest signs of the maturity in her character. Kadir would then face his one test. He could resist that the temptation to the blame Tolga for everything. Even if the Tolga revealed that the information with selfish intentions, Kadir will still need to accept responsibility for keeping that the secret if he accepts that the entire argument saying that the Tolga is the trying to separate them. Daphne may become more frustrated because that the real issue is the honesty. Kadi could finally understand that protected relationship mean admitting mistake instead of the defending him. He may tell Daphne that the interior trust her accepting with her anger for her. He will give her a reason to trust him again because honesty after a mistake is more vulnerable that the predicted the mistake never happened. This could also change that the balance between Kadir and the Tolga until now. Tolga has the often gained power whenever Kadir become angry. Kadir emotional reactions make it easy to the provoke. If Kadir now responds calmly, Tolga loses that the advantage. He could reveal that the secret explanation as the explosive fight between Daphne and the Kadir only to discover that the couple handled that the situation privately. This makes Tolga even more frustrated because he sees that the relationship is becoming harder to destroy. Today, emotional state could become increasingly complicated. He may tell himself that he is not only trying to protect Daphne but keep down he now that the jealousy is influencing his reaction. The more Daphne more toward Kadi, the more Tolga has to confront the difference between loving someone as waiting to conflict that the outcome of their life. If he truly cared about the Daphne, he could respect her choices. If he continued trying to changing that the choices that his life being turning his the possessions, this is a difficult trust for him to the faith. There will be moment when Tolga almost accept reality. He could Daphne happy with the Kadir and that interfering only make her more distant. For a short time, he may decide to step away. This could create that the possibility of the character growth, but that another event might pull him back into the conflicts. Perhaps he learns breathing that the concern is. Perhaps he sees Kadi making a mistake. Leila will tell him something that the comfort has the word exception. Tolga could confess himself that he has not given one the final reason to interfere. The danger is that she will no longer recognize where Jan is concerned and the jealousy begins. Sailor rule could become especially important here. She may understand Tolga's feeling because she also knows when it means to watch someone you can care about move trusted another future. But unlike Tolkien, Leila could begin accepting that the emotional pain does not give someone that the right to destroy another relationship. If he sees Tolga becoming increasing obsessed with the changing different decisions, she may want through her the action that he is going for while she could decrease to provide information she wants or refuse to participate in a pain designed to the embrace Qadir. This will show that the Qadir is becoming to move forward while Tolga remains trapped. This is also another possibility. Leila herself could have a moment of the weakness and verify cooperative with the Tolga. Both of them may believe that exposing a trust is justified. They might tell themselves they are only helping Daphne make an improved decision. Yet when the consequence became more serious than they expected, Leila could regret her involvement. She may see Daphne hurt and see that she was allowed all jealousy to control her behavior. This could push Leila toward a stronger change later instead of becoming a permanent enemy. She may eventually become one of the person who helped repair that the damage. Salma will be watches everything carefully. She may have starting accepting that the Qadir feeling for Daphne is not temporary, but the acceptance is not the same as the trust. Salma could become believing that the Daphne is capable of the hurting Qadir again. If Daphne and the Qadir experience a new argument, Salma may immediately assume that her the fear were correct. She might trust Kadir. Is this exactly why she expected Kadir ever may surprise her by refusing to let this mother define to their relationship? Instead of running to Salma for support, he could defend Daphne while admitting that they have a problem. This will show Salma that this argument does not necessarily mean that the relationship is the failing. Daphne could also surprise Salma rather than the avoiding her after the conflict. Daphne may face her directly. They could remind respectfully when making it clear when whenever happen between her and the Qadi must be solved by the two of them. The boundaries will be important. Salma loved Qadi, but her involvement as someone made problems larger. Daffy may finally understand that trying to win Selma approval through the contrast explanation is impossible. She does not need Selma to agree with every decision. She only needs basic respect. Interestedly, Selma may begin respecting Daffy may more seeing her the under conflict maturely. If Daphne does not disappear when things become difficult, Selma lost one of the biggest reasons for upset at the relationship. She may notice that the Daphne still listen and work through that the problem. This will show changing Selma represented instead of seeing Daphne as a woman who repeatedly created chaos in the Kadir life. She may start seeing her as a person capable of just standing beside him during cases. Their development could lead to a future movement where Salman respectively defend Daphne together another family member criticize her or the Tolga questions her the intentions. Selma, who once would have the agree, might have said that the Daphne has made her choices and deserve to be respectful. Such a movement will be powerful previous because Selma will not need to become more of an effective. Easy sport will make more if it came from someone who has kept for so long. At the same time, Daphne one's family may become worried almost about how quickly things are moving. This could see that the marriage is romantic but also risky. From their perspective, the Daphne recently experienced a serious accident and the emotional confession. They may wonder whether she need more time before making such a larger decision. Their concern will be understandable and will be Daphne may struggle because she does not want to trust him. However, this is another situation where she must separate respect from the obedience. She can listen to their fear without knowing this is fair to make her the decision. One of the different family members might remind her of everything that went wrong between her and the Kadi before that the accident. They could question when she believed that the future will be difficult. They may for Daphne to explain something she has only recently understood herself. The future will not be difficult because Kadri has it suddenly because the perfect. It will be difficult because she insists to respond differently. She may understand that the constantly preparing for almost about guaranteed failure. If she chooses that relationship, she must allow it as the real choices. Her answer may also surprise Kadir. He could overhear or later learn that the Daphne defending their relationship without him being present. This will more to become in a romantic declarations made in the private. It proved that he is willing to stand beside him choices even when the challenge Kadir has the turn void that the Daphne feeling disappearing at the moment. Family pressures entered at the room, seeing her they remind him the world remove one of the deepest fear. The revealed commitment between them made them because more serious. This could begin discussing when their future actually lived life. Where would they live? They would wander work. How involved would their family be? How would they manage financial responsibility? How boundaries would they have? They said with Tolga and this Leila. This is practical questions might seem less dramatic than the jealousy. That they can create much the deeper story lines. Love cannot become real when the people have to share normal life. Daphne may listen that she does not need to want lost her the professional independence after marrying Kadi. She has worked too hard to become her the one person. Kadi may completely understand this is in authority but struggle with this in practical if Daphne faces a difficult business situation. It first insists will be more struggle solve it for long. He could offer money's connection or the influence. Daphne may refuse it because she want to handle that the problem herself. Kadir might interfere that the refuser has the pride. Daphne must interpret her help as a lack of confidence in her. The disappointment could become important because neither person is the completely wrong. Kadir wants to help because he loves her. Daphne wants independence because it is control to identity. The situation requires compromise. Kadir must learn that the supporting Daphne does not always mean taking control. Daphne must learn that the accepting self does not automatically make her weak. They could eventually reach a point where Kadir offers support without making decisions for her, while Daphne accepts support when she needs it without feeling that she has lost her stand. A professional challenge could make it the lesser more the interest. Daphne may take on the difficult case on the project shortly after returning to the work. Everyone around her too could carry this easy, rushing her the recovery. She may become determined to prove that she accidental has been trained her the ability. Their determination could push her too hard. Kadi may notice that she is suffocated and become worried if she directly tell her to stop working. Daphne may become defensive, but it quietly helps create space for her to rest. While taking control of the project, she may appreciate it. The story will show Kadi waiting for the Daphne outside work late at the night, not because he wants to control when she goes, but is now. He has been working for many hours. Rather than the giving order, he might simply remain present. The kind of the believing will show a more mature version of his presentative natures. He will stay kind deeply, but he will longer assume that the love gives him the right to make every decision. Daphne slowly becomes comfortable releasing that kind of the sport. That will be important because the independence has something become isolation. Strong people often believing they should solve every problem alone, but partnership means allowing another person to share that the way. Daphne does not need Kadi to receive her. She needs to trust that relying on the isolation does not raise something she achieved people before meeting him. Their relationship could become warmer as this is everyday moment growing seeds of the contrast dramatic confessions you may see them the learning each other habit. Kadir could notice how deeper Daphne behave when she is tired. Daphne could discover what make Kadir even when he pretend everything is fine. They may agree over small instances of the turning that the disagreement into the crisis. Their scenes can help that the audience believing they are becoming a real couple rather than the two people trapped inside an endless romantic case where pieces will be probably will not for the long because Tolga may be shifting his attention toward that the professional world. If he understands that the emotional pressures no longer work, he could attack that the stability around Daphne and the Qadri. He may complete with the Qadri in business and involve him in a better connection to the Daphne work. His action could remain cynical and the technically fair while still being motivated by the jealousy. This will make him more interesting because he will no longer appear like a man simply begging for the another changing. Tolga may confess himself that he wants to prove that the Qadir is not capable of the giving Daphne a stable future if the Qadir faces financial or the professional trouble. Tolga could believing that the Daphne will eventually regret her the secret. Tolga could believe that the Daphne will eventually reject her the decisions. He might create pressure around Qadir's business challenge on the agreement or uses conflict to make a project more the difficult. Daphne could then become involved because that the consequence affect her as well. This is where Tolga made serious mistake. They might accuse Daphne with separately herself for the Qadir. When trouble begins instead, she may stand beside him. Tolga could not shock because he is still thinking about that. The other Daphne will often react to the problem by creating distance. Every challenge he created meant now Daphne another opportunity to prove her the commitment. Kadir could not also be uncomfortable with the definite and that the conflict on his behalf. His pride may have him want to solve everything alone. He might tell her that the problem is the possibility. Daphne could refuse to accept the separation. She may remind him that their partnership worked out where Kadir was willing to stand beside her during her crisis, but she will stand beside him during this. This reversal will be emotionally satisfying because they show equally. The business conflict will eventually expose Tolga's motive. Perhaps Daphne intentionally believed his actions are the simpler professional competition, but as she examined the situation, she may recognize the pattern during decisions can being made. It was designed to but pressure, especially on the card. The information is being used as a suspicion time. Once Daphne releases his hurt, the disappointment in the Tolga could become stronger than that her actions. Anger. He may have always wanted to be believed that the Tolga could separate his professional feeling from her decision. Discovering that he is using business to continue romantic conflict could damage whenever trust remained between him. Daphne may finally establish a boundary that leaves no room for the interpretation. She could remove Tolga from part of their professional life, refuse this private meeting, or insist that any necessary contest remains treated formal. They become that the moment Tolga truly understands how much he has lost. Earlier, even when the Daphne rejected him romantically, he could remain alone, close to her as someone important. If his jealousy destroyed that, the connection to he will be important was in nothing. The realization could either push him toward his divorce behavior or the finally force him to change. A strong prediction is that Tolga will face changing that the wrong part dramatically. It would sense for him to reach his lowest point before finding any possible redemption. He make her one decision that go further than he originally intended. Perhaps he sent confidential information. Perhaps he killed someone working against Kadir. Perhaps he allowed a misunderstanding to continue even when he now that the trust he may believe that he controlled that the consequence but that the situation become larger. Daphne could stand the suffering directly because of his action. This will be moment when the shock Tolga hurting Kadir may be seem acceptable to let him anger, but hurting Daphne is the difficult. If she faces professional embarrassment, family conflict, or emotional pain because of this, something Tolga did, he may suddenly understand that his jealousy has crossed a line. He wanted to separate her from Kadir before he believed that they could hurt the happier, but his action, how deeply directly make her life worse. Their realizations could start. Tolga eventually redemption. He might secretly help to undo the problem before admitting his the possibility. At first, he may hope to repair that the damage without Daphne even learning what the happening, but heeding that the trust will only repeat that the same mistake everyone else is the making. Eventually, he may need to the confess. Different reactions could be climbed rather than the explosive. Something disappointment is more powerful than the anger. She may simply look at the Tolga differently. She could tell him that she trusted him to respect her even when she does not return his the feeling. Learning that he acted against Kadi because he could not accept her decision might permanently changing their relationship. Tolga may finally understand that he cannot keep asking for another training. Their confrontations can become one of the strongest emotional sense of the next hour because neither people need to be presented as something evil, completely innocent. Tolga make love deafening that love even the reason he has become so disappeared. But Janice's emotion does not make harmful behavior acceptable. Daphne can recognize his feeling while still refusing to excuse his choices. After this point, Olga may disappear from the center of the Daphne romantically life for a while. He could focus on the preparing his one relationship and the professional reputation. This would give him a character's room of the becoming someone more than the third person in a love triangle. He may eventually find a person emotional directions, perhaps through the Layla or another character, but it should not happen accidentally. Toga first need to become comfortable with himself without using Daphne approval as proof of his value. Meanwhile, Layla could experience her own transformations. Watching Tolga lose himself because of the rejections may act like a warning. She might elicit that she has not spent too much time measuring him the future through the Kadi. She may decide to rebuild her the life immediately, a new professionality opportunity or family responsibility could give her a flash decision direction. This would make Layla make more vulnerable to the story because she will stop existing only as a possible because Kadir and the Daphne. This will even be that the moment when the Daphne and the Layla unexpectedly understand each other. Their history each other make friendship difficult, but they do not need to become closer for the relationship to the changing. A situation could force them to the cooperatives for someone they about care about faces a problem or a financial issue required for the help working might together remove some of the tension created by deception. Daphne may release that the Layla is not the trying to the win Kadir back. Layla may release that the Daphne is not the arrogant evil when one imagines it does not realize that the past, but it allows about women to move forward without defining themselves through the competition. This would be a welcome change because female characters often focus on the ideal worry over man. Muhtemel asks could create a more interesting story about knowing about the woman to remind Disney's Kadir may exactly feel uncomfortable when Daphne and the Layla being communicating more calmly because he is used to tension between them. Daphne could find his nervousness amusing. The lighter dramatic will give that the series some comedy after so much emotional drama. Kadir may avoid that the two women are discussing him while Daphne and the sailor could enjoy making him slightly uncomfortable. Such the movement will show that the past conflict can evolve into something less destructive. The renewal marriage will also require Kadir to deal with his family in a difficult way. He cannot ask Zafin to build a future with him while allowing family members to control their personal decisions. He may need to speak openly with the Selma about the boundaries. This could become one of the most difficult conversations of him because he loves his mother and expected to understand that the much of her influences come from the concern. Kadi made that Tolga Selma that her the value advice that but the final decision about the relationship belonged to him and the Daphne. Solma could intentionally taking place his personality. She may belong believing definitely pulling Kadir away from the person. The old version of the Selma could respond by the blaming Daphne, but if Selma has the begun changing, she may eventually understand that the love requires more independence from the family control. The process could create temporary tensions in the household. Selma may be worried colder toward Daphne for a while, even if she does not openly attack her. Daphne could notice that the changing and the wonder with her she become back. Kadi may say that he has nothing wrong, yet Daphne could decide that the closeness closer with the Selma will only make things worse. She may give her the time unexpectedly that the person who brings Selma and the Daphne closer could be Kadir himself experience our problems. If he becomes sick, encourage personality threaten or the emotional educated about woman may focus on the helping him. Shared concern could the temporarily remove their worries. Selma might see how the naturally Daphne care for one's sons, while Daphne understand how the deeply Selma protectiveness comes from the love. A small scene could community more than a mature conversation. Daphne may stay avoid waiting for the news about the Kadir. Selma may enter the room and see her still there. No dramatic speech if the necessary. The fact that the deafened enough to leave could be enough. Could usually find us begin believing that the deafened will stay when the thing becoming difficult. The trust may larger become essential when another person tries to the create conflict. If Tolga sale of someone from the past arrive with the damaging information, Selma may no longer accept it immediately, but she still defined and the Kadir right to solve the matter themselves. This will mark a more mature changing in the family dynamic. Daphne's relationship will hurt. The family may improve in a similar way because she is becoming more open emotionally. She may begin sharing problem essences of the hiding everything until it becomes impossible to the manage her. The family could see that the Kadir is not separated Daphne from them. In fact, he may encourage her to remain connected to them. This could remind them of their fears. Kadi could also make a deliberate effort to learn their trust rather than they expected Daphne to defect him. The contrast is he may showing when the family need helping without making that the moment about the himself he could save a practical issue quietly. Respect their traditions and allowing them to see their personality outside that the romantic conflict. Slowly they may understand why Daphne has kissing him. The Witter family acceptance may create a period of the happiness that they feel almost suspicion become viewer, more become emotional eventually arrive. The problem could be connected to the Daphne recovers memories. Perhaps when the problem's memory remain unclear, she may repeatedly remember a small detail from because that the accident but not can no places. A face, a phone call, a document or a conversation could keep returning off her mind. At first Daphne might ignore it because she does not want to obsess over that the accident. But the memories could become stronger. She may begin wondering with everything important shortly because everything changing. As the professional instinct could pushes her to investigate. Kadi might become nervous when she is doing the normal signal that the no more than he was admits. Perhaps he was involved in a confrontation. Because the accidents or know about the problems Daphne was facing, his nervousness does not necessarily mean he cares everything, but the Daphne may interrupt it that the way they trusted another opportunity for the trust rather than the secretly investigating Kadir. Daphne could act directly if the Qadi answers honesty, even if the trust is uncomfortable. Their relationship even stronger if he hides something that the problem become much harder. My prediction is that the Qadi will intentionally institute his or predicted incest will return. He may believe Daphne is the finally happened does not need to the sense painful event. But seeing their frustrated that she will not make Lizzie that the science is no longer can opinion, he may tell her what he now and that the trust could point towards someone else. Perhaps Tolga was the presentative before that the accidents, whereas Leila was the contracted deafness our family dispute and the becoming more serious. than anyone elicited. The story could reveal that the Daphne was emotionally distracted not because of Kadir alone but because severe pressure has reached the breaking point. Sarah, this may help Kadir understand that the present accident was partly connected to the way she has been living. She was trying to many responsibilities, heeding to many emotions, and trying to solve every problem at the once. This would straighten her decision to the change. She may promise himself, but she will no longer allow fear and the pressure to the control every day. Kadir may love the changing, but he may avoid becoming another person telling Daphne how to the life. Insists he could spot her the choices. If you want to reduce the professional responsibility, he spot her. If you want to the continue working fully, he respect that too. That the important thing is that the Daphne decided the memory mysterious could also create tension with the Tolga if he role is larger than the expected. Suppose Daphne remembered that Tolga confronted him shortly before that the accident. He may not have cared if the directly, but that the emotional pressure could have the contributed to her state of her mind. Tolga could carry enormous guilt. Will might explain why he has been involving so intensely silent since then. If the trust emerges, Daphne may eventually feel betrayed because Tolga allowed everyone to the believe he has no connection to the event. Tolga could agree, but that he stayed silent because he did not want her the recovery harder again. That the story will return to the theme of the people adding trust in the name of the protection. Daffy may become tired of the ever making decision of her. He could finally admit that he no longer hide information against. This will affect Kadi, Tolga, Selma and her family equally. She will be asserting control in a healthier way, not by closing herself off by insisting on the honesty. This theme could become central to the remember of this season. Every relationship around Daphne has been shaped by the secret half trust and the protected lie. Her accident gives the story a reason to the research this relationship. Daphne decided that she would rather have an uncomfortable trust immediately than discover a comfortable lie later. Kadir could struggle with a new role because honesty might occasionally create pain, yet he will understand that the Daphne is serious. The next time is the difficult separations appear, he makes choices to the latter immediately. Daphne could be upset but also recognize the process. Slowly they begin development trusted based on never making mistakes but refusing to hide them. This is how that general relationship can feel difficult from the earlier romance. Before passion was strong but trust was fragile. Now the story can allow trust to grow through repeated choices. Kadi tell that the trust while lying would be easier. Daphne stay for the explanation when the living would be easier. This is choice because that the real foundation of their future. The relationship romantic moment becomes simpler and therefore more believable since instead of everything requiring a dramatic confession. They could enjoy ordinary time together. Daphne might fall asleep while working and the Kadir quietly cover her with a blanket. Kadir could become stressed over a family matter and Daphne made him laugh. They could live widely agree over something unimportant, spend time working about discussing around crises. This is quiet scenes will make future dangers more emotional because viewer will see the couple is the actually fighting to the presence happiness need to the exist on screen for audience to care when it is threatened. The next major threat could arrive from outside that the 60 romantic triangle. Once Daphne and the Kadir become stronger, the theories may need a new series of the conflict. A professional river family secret or the person from Kadir past could enter that the story. The new character might not immediately be romantic. This will be better because another simpler love triangle can feel repetitive. A business river could have history with the Kadir family and used Daphne as a way to reach him. Daphne's legal knowledge could make her important in the conflict instead of becoming that the helpless person Kadi must save. She could become that the person who understands that the danger from Kadi may intentionally try to keep him away for the problem suffered enough, Daphne was strongly rejected. She pointed out that the begins his partners mean sharing difficult situations, not happy ones. Kadhi intentionally accept that she is right. The conflict could allow Daphne to use her professional strength in a way that directly helped Kadir. She must discover a legal weakness in the reverse strategy, protect an important statements or expose manipulations. Kadi could be proud of her while also revealing that he conceals to protect her, underestimate her ability. This will be a strong development because Daphne intelligence could remain central to her character. Romance should not reduce her to someone waiting for the Qadi to every solution's problems. The most future will show them as an equal, which means difficult strength to the relationship. Tolga might become involved again in an unexpected way if she has started regret his earlier behavior. He could dismiss information that helped Daphne and the Qadir against the new rivals. They give him a chance to prove them he is changing. At first, Qadir may distracted, may offer to the help from Tolga. They will be understandable. Daphne also be the question. But Tolga could make it clear and he does not expect it everything in the return. He may simply want to the same of the damage he caused. Helping Kadir would be particularly meaning because it requires Tolga to move beyond competition instead of the trying to defect that the man Daphne cases. He would have protect Daphne happiness even though that the happiness does not include him romantically. This could become that the first sign of the emotional maturity. Kadi may never become Tolga friend, but he could begin repeating him again. Their relationship might move him open rewarded to unnecessary cooperation. This will open new storyline possibility because that the two men who need each other will predict that the past never happened. Leila could become part of his broader analysis if a new external data fact manipulator family's character new ones found over romance may suddenly share a common problem. This would allow that the story to grow beyond that the original triangle. Daphne must become that the person holding that the unstable group together. Her legal mind and the growing emotional maturity could make her the natural meditator. She understands Kadir's anger, Tolga Gir's Leila history and the Selma affair. Instead of becoming by everyone, she may finally learn how to listen without carrying out their problem personally. This is another important lesson for the Daphne. Caring about the people does not mean solving everything for them. She and often supporting while allowing others to take responsibility for their own choices. Her earlier habit of taking every burden often led her and the deceitful. The new Daphne may listen. Setting agreement healthier limit. Kadir could encourage this boundary because he sees how much pressure Daphne normally places on herself, yet he needs that the same lesson. He too has a habit of taking responsibility for everyone. He loves that the relationship can help each person because more the silence. There may be beautiful moment when both realize they are making the same mistake from the opposite direction. Daphne could assume of the Kadir of trying to solve every problem alone, only for him to point out that she does exactly that the same thing instead of the becoming angry. They might because that the trust is the obsessed yet as seen would how comfortable they had become. The possibility of starting a family could eventually enter the story, although it will probably to make earlier. For an immediately pregnancy storyline, marriage story like land conversation about the future may force Daphne and the Kadi to discuss whether they want children someday. This could reveal deeper fear. Daphne may avoid that the marriage and the family responsibilities could threaten that the independence she found to the buried. Kadi may have transition expectation. He has never seriously examined the conversation could create tension, but also love or character to understand each other better. The key should be showing that the commitment does not mean Daphne immediately abandons her the ambitions. Kadi could learn that the supporting her career is a part of the building their future. Daphne could learn that creating a family does not automatically mean losing herself. This decision will make the fear romance mature. They will also prepare viewer for future storyline without rushing into them. Another emotional issue could be Kadi's fear of losing Daphne after the accident. Even when the physical recover, the experience can remain inside him. He can become usable as himself because she does not answer her phones and they arrive home last. At first, Daphne may find it sweet, but equally it could become frustrated. Kadi may now listening how deeply the accident affected him. He spent time facing that the possibility the Daphne might never fully return to the herself. The fear does not disappear simply because she is now recovering. He may be checking on her too often, trying to control situations that seem risky, or becoming angry when she does something he is considered unsafe. Daphne could eventually be predicted as his normal possessive behavior. Eventually, she may realize that the real emotion underneath it is fear instead of the fighting should. He could help himself about that the fear Kadir is not simply everyone who easily admit vulnerability. He finds become anger because anger feels stronger. Daphne could slowly make him understand that the being frightened does not make him weak. The accident affecting him to this will act emotional deep to the Kadi because he is usually now has a strong person in the relationship. Allowing Daphne to comfort him will make their connection more balanced. Daphne may carry fear about after that the accident. She could experience brief moment of the while traveling hard as if they remind of her of what happens, of frustration when she cannot remember small details. She may try to hide this feeling because she even want everyone to the believe. She is completely recovered. Skadi could notice anyway rather than immediately become protective. He may simply stay near her. Daphne could eventually admit that returning to normal life is harder than she expected. This sheer vulnerability could bring them closer than any romantic misunderstanding did. About her learning that this strength does not mean predicted everything is defined. The new marriage may then become less about creating a perfect new beginning and the more accepting that they are about carrying emotional scar into the future. They do not need to this scar, they need to understand them. A particularly strong episode can show Daphne having a difficult day connected to her memory recovery. She might become frustrated with everyone treated her carefully. Kadir may try to help and they accidentally make this worse. Big Daphne could have been along creating concern. The or Kadir might immediately follow and force a conversation. The new Kadir could give her some spaces while making sure she knows where to find him. Daphne may equally return on her once. This simple choice will show how much the relationship has changed. He trusted her enough not to case and she trusts him enough to the return. The emotional maturity could also affect how they exposed to the jealousy. Suppose someone Kadi deficiency and Gisela in this situation that looks suspicious. Earlier she might have immediately assumed there was something hidden. Now she could wait and direct directly. He explained that the situation and the conflict and becoming a disaster. Similarly, if Tolga appeared close to the Daphne because of the work, Kadi may feel jealous but refusing to assume her. Them the Daphne may notice and even tense him lightly. The jealousy might become our movement, but it no longer controls the plot. This will be a significant improvement for the series because relationship more enjoyable where viewers are not constantly waiting for another misunderstanding to destroy everything. Of course, readers still need dramatic tension, so the next major conflict should involve something more difficult than the jealousy. A family secret could provide that. Perhaps there is information about Qadir's family history that the Salma has hidden for the years. This secret may involve money and or relationship or the reason behind a past conflict. Daphne could professional work without releasing its connection to the Qadir. When Qadir understands what she has found, he may face a painful choice between protected his mother's and the being honest with the Daphne. Selma could ask him to remain silent. This will test his new commitment to the transparency. If Kadir chooses Daphne and tell her the truth, Selma feel betrayal. He says silence. Selma may feel betrayal. There is no easy solution. The best development will be Kadir refusing to the choices between them. He could tell Salma that hiding that the trust is creating more damage and encourage her to speak herself. This will become forced to take responsibility for her past rather than making Kadir carry it. Definitely response with the commission instead of the judgment. If these secrets remind some of the Selma fear and controlling behavior, Daphne may finally understand her, the better this will become at the moment the relationship truly changing. Selma may see that the Daphne could have used that the information against her, but causes not him to trust could become finally. The family storyline will also show that the Daphne role in the Kadir life has changed. She is no longer and the outsider whom everyone hides things from. She is becoming part of the story. Difficult trust the consequence could continue for this evil episode. Old wound may reopens another person connected to the past might return, but instead of the separated Daphne and the Kadir. The problems come closer could bring them the closer the stories could then reaching a stage where the relationship feels stable enough that the viewer being worrying about a difficult kind of the danger sacrifice Kadir may face a choices where protected definitely requiring giving up something important to him. He could not prepare to make daddy sacrifice without telling her again. This will challenge daddy. Listen, they're trying to the learn. Daphne does not want Kadi making life-changing decision for her. If he sacrifices a bonus opportunity, family connection, or the personal goal without discussing it, she could become anger very even if his attention is the loving. She may tell him that she does not want to be reason he gave up everything. Kadir could respond that the nothing matter more than he heard. Daphne must appreciate that the emotion why rejected that the logical healthy relationship cannot survive. Kade could respond then nothing matters more than her. Daphne might appreciate that the emotion why rejected that the logical healthy relationship cannot survive if one person destroys their one life to protect the other. This conversation could lead them to the deeper understanding of the partnership. Love is not about one person becoming smaller so that the other can remain safe. It is finding a solution whereby the people can continue growing. Daphne may even make a sacrifice for once later, giving Kadi the chance to recognize that the same problem from the opposite side. He could become frustrated when she gives something up of him without asking. She may remind him that he does the same thing once again. They would be forced to learn together. The pattern of the mirror's lesson could become one of the strongest elements of the next phase. Daphne and the Kadri are similar in the new way that their releases about are the stubborn, protective, proud, loyal, and afraid of the losing control. Their conflict often comes from seeing their one behavior in the other person has they recognize this. Their argument could become less destructive. They may still become angry, but they understand where that the anger comes from. Their relationship could reach a point where both can predict each other's actions. Recent may now when Kadir is the heading. Behind Sikran's Kadir now Daphne is the predicted not to the care because she feels vulnerable. This familiarity creates intimacy beyond romance. Tolga watching this development could finally understand that they competing against something he could not create through the effect alone. Daphne and the Kadir was better in connection through the shared experience. It is not simply a matter of who is Kadi or more successful. These realizations may help Tolga let go. He could stop comparing himself to Kadi and ask why he actually wants from him himself. His professional ambitions may become more important instead of using Kadi as a weapon against Kadir. Tolga could focus on the proving himself of his one reason. Success will no longer be meaningful only if noticed here. This growing eventually makes Tolga more attractive as a character or possible open that the door to a new relationship. But that the important part is that any future romance could begin after he has accepted Daphne. Decision not as a quick replacement. Leila may also rebutted her the life is a simpler way they two could development rejected respect for each other but about character when it means to let go to someone's whenever Tolga and this Leila eventually become romantic is so important than showing that neither person remains frozen in the past. Meanwhile, Daphne and the Kadir's biggest victory may be reaching a point where Tolga and this Leila no longer have the power to create immediately panic between them. The relationship become defined by one their choices rather than who try to interfere. The next major cliffhanger could that introduce a problem connected to the Daphne herself rather than the triangle. She may receive a professional often that they could change her the futures. Perhaps it requires moving temporarily, taking on the difficult responsibility or the working closely with someone Kadi does not now. The old version of that the relationship might treat like as a threat. Kadi could fear losing Daphne while Daphne could feel like staying more in sacrifice hurt the careers. This new version should handle it differently. Kadi may the struggles emotionally, but still encourage her to consider the opportunity. Daphne appreciated his support, but also question whether she truly want a future that keep them apart. They become a choices based on fear, but the priorities. Daphne can ask herself when she wants personality and the personally without amusing of one that must destroy the other. Maybe they found a compromise. Perhaps Kadi can occasionally travel with her or that the opportunity can be adjusted. The important part is that the neither forces that other to abandon their future. The kind of storyline which demonstrated how far they have come. Earlier, every decision had left a choice between love and the independence. Now they learned the partnership can create more possibility rather than the fear. By this stage, the if marriage could feel completely difficult from that the accident one created difficult, definite memory confession. The first was based on complete knowledge. The second is the being guilty every day through these deliberate choices. This is why that the coming episode should not be viewed as the ending of the Daphne and the Kadir love story. This is actually that the beginning of the more difficult part. Falling in love was never their real problem. Staying open to the love or ordinary life is what they have never truly married before. Daphne accident gave him a strange second chance. It's about character version of their relationship without all the usable defenses. Now they have to decide whether they can create that the feeling coincidentally. Daphne may become that the person who take that the first strong step. She could tell Skadi through her the choices that she does not want to return to the old cycle. She wants to remember that the painful part of the history without allowing this is memory to control the future. Kadi may respond by the compromise, promising someone more important than the never hurting her. Nobody can promise it insists. He may showing what important problems happen. He will not disappear, lie or outright to become stronger than the relationship. Therefore must speak that the same commitment. They will be believable when they about stopping demanding professions and they start casing honesty. The final part of these actions could therefore lead toward a quiet but powerful turning point. After another difficult angle, Daphne and the Kadi may find themselves alone. The people who normally therefore are gone, therefore is no Tolga or Leila or the Selma. No professional emergency, no family argument. For one, the only question is want to that them. Daphne may look at the Kadi and elicit that the answer is the simply than everyone around them. She wants him in her life not because she forget the past, not because that the accident confused her. Not because someone pressured her, not because she is afraid of the being alone. She chooses him while alone exactly how difficult loving it this can be. Kadim finally understand that this is the answer he has been waiting from that the beginning. But instead of treating it like a victory, he may understand that the responsibility inside that the choices. Daphne is trusted him with the part of herself she protected more strongly. He cannot take that the trust lightly. From this point, the relationship can move into the completely new phase. Tolga still cares trouble, Selma may still worry, Leila may still carry unfinished feeling, family secret may still appear. Work may create pressure, the accident may still leave emotional effect. Daphne and the Kadi will still make mistakes because neither character suddenly become perfect. But the difference is that every new problem will meet to the people who are trying to stay together rather than the two people waiting for another reason to be separate. These single chains can transform that the interior state. The possibilities love can once existed only become uncontained and fear can finally become a joyous one and fun that will make that the chases considerously. Everyone around her will need to change as well. Tolga will need to stop believing patient will equally make her change her mind. Selma will need to control that the accept protect Kadi does not mean controlling he loves. Leila will need to build a future that does not depend on what Kadi decided. Kadi will need to replace professional with the trust and Daphne will need to accepting that the love does not raise her independence. This chain can push Motmilas into his strongest emotional period yet. The coming conflict could therefore not simply with her as Daphne and the Kadi will stay together after another misunderstanding. The more interesting question is whether they can finally believe that the two people who understand that love is something they win one. It is something they can see repeatedly when jealousy appears, they the choice trust. When family pressures appear that the choice is boundary, when a secret appear, they created honesty. When fear appear, their choice is communication. When professional ambition created distance, their choice is compromise. And when all return, their choice is not to let the part decided everything. If this story followed that the direction, Daphne and the Kadi will become more than a dramatic. Couples pull toward together and the pushes apart, they will become to the people learning how to be something real. This is likely to become that the emotional heart of the next stage of Muhtemel as the accident has already changed the direction of the story. Definitely turning memory will change it against, but the biggest change will happen when everyone is that the remembering the past. Thus, Norma's returning off to it. Daphne can remembers every reason she once had for the running away and still decided to this day. Kadi can remember every time she rejected him and still decided to trust her new commitment. Selma can remember every argument with Daphne and this allow herself to reconsider. Tolga can remember that the future he imagined and still create another one. Stella can remember when she lost without spending the rest of her life trying to recover. This is where growth began. And for the Daphne, growth may finally mean accepting something that will frighten her more than any professional failure. She cannot control everything they come next. She cannot now with her every day with the Kadi will be easy. She cannot guarantee that another secret will never appear. She cannot prevent every argument. She cannot make everyone approve her for choices. But she can decide when she does know this is thing happen. She can stop stunning, but she can asking questions with her making exceptions. She can tell that the trust before silence because another secret she can allow Kadi to sponsor her without giving him control on her identity. She can remind herself by building a life without another person and Kadi can learn to do exactly that the same. This is why their next step is the much bigger than another romantic moment. It is beginning that of the real first relationship they has even has each other. Everyone before this is an attractive possibility, fear, person, jealousy, misunderstanding, and the finished emotions. Now come that the difficult part. Now they must leave that the choices. Now is the next chapter of Muhtemel that the choices may finally prove with that the love the begun has a personality can survive only if becomes reality. Muhtemel the future become more dangerous after the promise after Daphne and the Kadir finally begin moving toward a new serious future. The story of Muhtemel can become more dangerous because their begins changing will no longer be decided whether they love each other. The real challenge will be protected the love when the life protected difficult again. Until now their relationship has survived because they keep returning to each other every new mistake, but surviving a relationship is difficult from the building one. Daphne and the Kadir centers a stage where we have to be decided together, face that the consequence together and accepting that the love cannot remain only on emotional escape from their problem. It has now become part of the way they handle this is problem. This is where that the major storyline can begin. Daphne may believe that the worst period is finally behind them. Kadir may also allow himself to feel harmful. The family could start accepting that the relationship more seriously, that even that the people who may stand between them might become quieter for a short time, but seen in a drama rarely arrive without a hidden danger of hiding behind him. The stronger the relationship becomes, the more meaningful the next secret will feel. This time that the danger should not simply come from the another romantic misunderstanding. It should attack that the trust they have spent so much time trying to create that we may return to the professional life a new sense of the confident. The accident has reminded her how quickly life can be changed, but it can also threaten her desire to remain independent. She will have want to everyone to believe and marriage or love has changing her into someone who depends completely on the Kadi. She may throw herself back in work because work is one of the places where she feels most in control. At first, Kadir will probably admit that the determination she now that the definite professional identity is important to her, and if he truly wants to build a future with her, he must respect that part of her life. Yet he could quickly become worried when she sees how hard she pushes herself. Daphne may be physically recover enough to the return, but emotional recovery taking longer. She becomes frustrated, distraction or the frustration when a small memory problem appears. Instead of the admitting that she needs rest, she may even when become she want to the prove that nothing has changed. This creates a new kind of the disagreement between her and the Kadi. She may tell her to slow down because he is scared of seeing her hurt again. Daphne may immediately her control instead of the concern. Their agreement will become from the something small, but their feeling underneath they are much larger. Kadi remembered the fear of the almost losing her. Daphne remembered how the powerless she felt when everyone else was making decisions around her during her recovery about react from the fear, but neither intentionally explained that fear clearly. Daphne was accusing Kadi of the treating her like a fragile person. Kadir may accuse Daphne of reacting if that the accident never happened. Neither is the completely wrong. The important difficult from the early conflict should be they do not immediately walk away from each other. Daphne may become angry and leave that the room, but she could later return. Kadir may need time to the calm down, but insists of the disappearing into another confrontation with the Tolgas and other family members. He stay available when she speak again. Daphne might family admit that she is afraid anyone now seeing her the differently she work become too strong and the capable, but she cannot relate that the idea that the people are now waiting for her to break. Kadir may understand that his concerns were very accidentally make that the first fear worse. Kadir could then reveal something he has not admitting before the accident frightened him more deeply than anyone else's. Every Daphne does not answer that the phone. He remembered that the day every time she travels alone, a part of him expected another terrible call. She now that this fear is not rational, but that does not make it disappear. Daphne may be surprising because Kadir vulnerable hide vulnerable behind anger or the confidence seeing then admit fear could change that interior conversation instead of arguing about with her she could work. They began talking about how that the accident changing both of them. This is a kind of the emotional maturity that the relationship needs. Daphne does not have to give up her independence to make Kadir feel safe, and Kadir does not have to predict he is never afraid. They can find a better growth there, become compromised to be more honest when she is tired or the struggling. Kadir could promise not to turn worry into control. This is promise may simple, but that they represent a major step. They are the beginning to understand that protected that the relationship may talking about that the feeling underneath that the argument, not just the argument itself, the professional work that introduce that the new serious studied. Daphne might receive as an important case business opportunity or responsibility that appear perfect on the surface. After everything she has experienced, she may see it as a chance to prove that she is fully back. The project could offer professional recognition, financial stability, and independence. She may accept quickly because she does not want Kadir or her family to think she needs protections whenever this opportunity could be connected indirectly to someone who has a history with the Kadir family. At first, definitely now that this connection exceeds the person behind that the project could appear professional, respectful, and the sportive for her ambitions. Kadir may recognize that the name or the company and immediately become uncomfortable. His reaction could create tension because he may refuse to explain everyone right away. Swear that the history involves something Selma does not want discussed, but it connect to an odd conflict. Kadir believe was the finish whenever that the reason Kadi could advise Daphne to leave that the project without giving her enough information. Daphne will naturally cease once may see a warning has another time to control her the career from her point of view. She has finally received a strong opportunity, and Kadir is asking her to walk away because of the someone he will not explain. This is exactly that the kind of the situation where all happened could return. She may become defensive. Kadir may finally frustrated, but the new relationship need to handle it differently. Daphne could refuse to the abandon the project, but it feels that the Kadir trust her, that the full trust. If he continue hiding information, she may start investigation herself. Her legal and the analytical skill will become central of the story instead of the being protected from the mysteries. It becomes for his per the person uncovering it. She may discover that the new client, partner, or the company has a past connection to the Kadir family that goes much deeper than she expected. The secret could involve a business deal with the years earlier betrayal between them or the financial damage that the Kadir never fully explained to the Kadir. Maybe Kadir now only part of the story himself. Daphne investigations could uncover evidence that the changing when he believed about her one family history. This script that the storyline emotionally because that the problem will no longer be only about the Daphne career. It will force Kaji to confront something from her past. Selma may become extremely nervous when she receives Daphne is asking questions. She may be Kadi to stop her before all wound at the reopen. Kadi could be poor between loyalty to his mother and honesty with the Daphne. This could become one of the hardest tests. Earlier he might have the choice in silence because he believed he was protected everywhere. Now he has promised Daphne that the important trust will be hidden. Kadir may intentionally hesitate. He could him tell Salma that he does not want to betray her the trust, but he cannot build a marriage with the Daphne while hiding something that affects her directly. Salma they react emotionally. She might believe Daphne is the oldie training Kadir and pulling her away from his family. This could temporarily save her the or hostility. The difficult difference is that the Qadi to allow longer guilt to make that the decision he may repeatedly respectfully that the Salma that loving his mother does not mean repeating every mistake she made if the past is now affecting Daphne. The Daphne deserves to know that the trust. There could be a mutual turning point in the Qadi relationship with the Salma because he is finally established about boundaries. Daphne could learn that the trust from the Qadi before she discovered if everywhere the alone wound changing her direction even if the information is the painful she may resist that ignorance while the silence could will have the easier. They could become one of the first situations where the secret actually threatened their relationship because of the work they handled it. However, that the trust system might still be dangerous, but that the professional opportunity was the deliberately offered to the Daphne because someone wanted access to the Qadir. The person behind it could know about their relationship and could use their definite career ambition to pull her closer suddenly when they look like a normal professional project because part of a larger plan. Daphne could become forest when she realizes she has been used. Kadir first insists may have to be removed from this situation immediately. Daphne refuses. He may agree that the plan the involver she had the right to help finishing. This creates another conflict between protection and the partnership. Kadir could eventually accept that the Daphne is the correct. Instead of the hiding her from the danger, they decided to investigate together. This would be a mature shift in the series. Elder Kadir often acted alone, believing he could protect everyone. Now he learned to the work with the Daphne rather than around her. The difficult skill could make them the affected Daphne understand document legal detail, contract, and the behavior of the people trying to hide information. Kadir understand are the history, personalities, and the practical side of the conflict together. They may notice signature will see alone working side by side could also create lighter movement. Daphne may become annoying when Kadir ignores her the careful plan and act too quickly. Kadir may explain that she wants to analyze everything forever. He could become quietly still working inside that the same consequences of their difficult destroy that the relationship is difficult become part of what that the partnership painful. The professionally mysterious could eventually connected to the Tolga. He now that the persons involved have information about that the company or have previously done business with them. Daphne and the Kadi must need him the help even though neither want to open depend on him. This will create an the awkward situation. Tolga could see that the request has an opportunity. The old Tolga might use it to move closer to the defense against, but this his character is the beginning to the change. He could promise surprise him. He may often add the important information without asking for everyone. He could make it clear that he understands different choices and does not want to use that the situation to restart their romantic conflict. Kadir may not trust him. He could assume there is another plan behind that. The helpful behavior Daffy may also remain careful. Tolga will need to prove his intention through the action rather than the word. One important moment could come when the Tolga receives information that will give him a chance to impress Kadir publicly. In the past, he might choosing in not to insist he want Kadi privately become exposing that the information will also hurt the Daphne. Kadi may not be surprising by the decision. He may not think Tolga immediately, but he will understand what it means. Tolga is he finally learned that caring about the Daphne means protecting her the happiness, even when the happiness does not include him. Romantically, this does not mean Tolga feeling disappear. He may still feel pain with her. He seemed definite and Kadir together. The difference is stop using that the pain has the permission to interfere. This makes them people more interesting as the character viewer can feel empty for him without needing to support destructive behavior. Tolga could also begin noticing Sela differently. She may be one of the only person who understands his situation without judging him about have the experience the difficult process of accepting that is someone they care about the courses and the future. Their conversation could become more honest because neither need to predict everything is fine. At first, there does not need to the romance between Tolga and this Leila. In fact, it will be better in their connections grow slowly. They may become friends who challenge each other. Leila could tell when he is falling apart into jealousy. Tolga could encourage Leila to stop defining her through the Kadi. Their relationship might gradually become one of the more emotionally balanced part of the story. Daphne may notice this change and they feel relief. She could Tolga smiling again without trying to embrace her. For the first time she may believing she is the moving forward. They could allow him to eventually to the bury the limited relationship as though the trust will take time. Kadir might mold the suspicion for much longer. Every time Tolga appeared, Kadir all the jealousy could return. Daphne may need to remind him that he cannot trust from her while refusing to offer that the same trust in return. If Tolga is respecting boundaries, Kadir must also learn to stop treating him like a permanent threat. They could become another small by the meaningful task. Kadi may listen that his jealousy is not really about the Kadi anymore. It could become one of the fear that the Daphne could change her the mind. When he has been trusted Daphne choice, Tolga become much less the threatened. Daphne could resource her Kadir in a way she never did before instead of the becoming annoying by the jealousy. She may understand that the insecurity underneath it. She could make it clear that the relationship with Tolga belonged to the past, but she may also set a boundary. Kadi cannot decide if she speak to the professionally or the socially. Kadi may struggle but accept that the